There we are, that's now recording. So it'll only be just this talk part that we'll be recording. So welcome to the SeptembRSE submitters mentoring session. The purpose of this session is to enable basically us to share how you can submit submissions to SeptembRSE, and then after this talk to provide kind of like a one-to-one time where we can answer questions or provide help. If you're watching this as a recording because you weren't able to attend today, then please feel free to reach out on the RSE Slack. So either post in general or post in the SeptembRSE channel, and just ask for a question, ask for some help, and we'll have one of the committee talk to you directly on the Slack. So, submitters mentoring session. What is the purpose? What are we going to be doing with this? Well, these out the way. Cool. This is said, I'm going to start here with just a very short talk about the different types of submissions that we have open on SeptembRSE. So this is going to include examples of how we make submissions of each type, and I will pass over to the various team leads of those sessions to be able to enable them to sort of talk about it. So a little quick technical thing. I need to make somebody a co-host. I will do that in a bit after we've done this presentation, when we get to the talking part. So as I said, this first part really just is a short talk where we'll talk you through the different types of submissions that are possible for SeptembRSE, and we'll have some examples of how you could make the submissions. We've tried to make the submission process as easy as possible, and you have to write as little as possible because we know everybody is very busy. And so it's just really the core things that are needed to make a submission. Once we've gone through the short talk, we'll then open the floor up to questions and consultation. And so either you can raise your hand, we will turn on our cameras and we'll make this nice and friendly. Either raise your hand if you're happy asking your question in this sort of shared room, or we will be creating some like breakout rooms to enable you to have one-to-one sessions. Either you can in the chat if you don't want to be on video or on voice, or in the breakout room you can actually just talk one-to-one, with one member of the committee. You will then be able to talk through your submission, like see, does it fit in scope? What would you need to do? Which one of the submission types will be best for you? Now, as I said, we're recording this talk and we will upload this talk to YouTube for people who are unable to attend this session, but we will not record the Q&A or the consultations. They are private for you. We don't want to have you worried that anything you say is going to be, recorded or replayed at any point in the future. And also to re-emphasize, all of the assessment of all sessions in SeptembRSE is completely anonymized. So the people who are refereeing and reviewing the submissions have no idea that you're attending this. They have no idea about any questions you will ask. So please do not worry. Nothing you ask today will have any impact or any, even any knowledge to the people reviewing or refereeing. So it will, to be honest, it's really good that you're coming and you're asking these questions. I actually think it will help you because you have a leg up on everybody who hasn't been able to sort of ask questions. So session types, we have 6 types of submission available in SeptembRSE. I'll just give a quick summary of them, then I'm going to sort of hand over to the leads of those sessions just to explain how you make a submission. So the 6 types, they're the 5 things that we ran in previous RSE conferences plus one new thing. So the things we ran before, in the top left, we have talks. So talks are your standard talks, sort of a 20-minute talk. There'll be 5 minutes for questions. As for all submissions to SeptembRSE, the scope is anything that you would think would be of interest to research software engineers anywhere in the community. So it could be something very general you think would be for the entire community, but equally things you think would be just for specific sections of the community as well. That's totally fine. We want a nice mix between generalized and specialized talks. And it's a standard talk. You'd have slides, you make a presentation. It will be recorded and will be streamed as well. So again, slight difference this time around is everything we'll be doing, obviously because it's an online conference, will be streamed, and it will also be recorded and uploaded to YouTube for people who can't make the live sessions. So that's the talk. The other type of thing we have is a poster. So a poster will be an electronic poster in PDF format, and this will be basically shown in our main poster room. So news which you probably haven't heard is we are going to be using a platform called GatherTown, and that will enable us to build a huge virtual conference center in which we'll actually have loads of rooms, lots of interesting events and things. And one of those rooms will be the poster room. And around the poster room, there'll be lots of posters and spaces where you can engage in one-on-one conversation or one-on-group conversation with people who are interested in your poster. Because these are electronic posters, you have the option of including a live demo in this. And also, if you wanted to, we will be doing lightning talks as well. Obviously, for a month-long conference, we don't expect you to stand next to your poster for the entire month. You'd get very tired. There will be sort of dedicated poster sessions, and you could choose which ones you want to attend, but your poster will be visible for the entire conference. We will have walkthroughs, that's the third type. So walkthroughs are very similar to talks. So we know when people want to present a SeptembRSE, sometimes what you want to show is not so much a talk with slides. What you want to do is a walkthrough with maybe a Jupyter notebook or some live coding or a demonstration of something you've done. And the walkthrough is kind of a 20-minute session where you just demonstrate something live, like maybe walk through a Jupyter notebook, walk through installing and using a piece of software, walk through making a code edit or compiling something. Something you think will be of interest where you expect people to watch you do it, and then hopefully you provide materials that will enable people to do it on their own computers after the session in their own time. The next thing we have are workshops. So hopefully you're familiar with the workshops we may have run at previous conferences. Now, at previous conferences, we made the workshops 1/2 day, but again, being online, we have a lot of flexibility. So we're saying workshops this time, the length will depend on you. The length can be anything from 1 hour to 1 day, obviously put in a lunch break or something. And with the workshop, the idea is that you will basically try and teach something in a classroom setting. So a virtual classroom setting. Maybe you have a tool, or you want to teach someone a programming language, or you want to teach them a module or a library, or maybe there's something you want to demonstrate. You want people to learn how to use a system that you've created. So a workshop provides that route. Now, with all of the other sessions, there will be no caps on numbers because it's online. So in theory, you could have hundreds of people at your talk. But for workshops, because it's in this teaching environment, we will enable you to cap the numbers. So if you say, I can only cope with 20 people, that's completely fine. And there will be like a sort of a sign-up session for workshops. So you know how many people will be coming and you'll know what your maximum limit is. We then have panels. So panels, again, they were first appeared in RSE 19. And a panel is basically a facilitated question and answer session where you would have a topic for the panel and a set of panelists. And then the audience, it could be anyone in the community, will then be asking questions of the panelists. So this is very much an interactive session where an audience will be talking to panelists, probably submitting their questions by something like Slido, and the panelists will then be answering the questions. So it's kind of like this, should be quite a nice dynamic session. The idea is it takes about 40 minutes. They went really well at RSE 19. The sixth type of thing, this is our brand new thing for SeptembRSE. And this was inspired by podcast sessions that we were seeing, which we thought were really fantastic, and also discussion groups that had appeared in various RSE groups around the country. A discussion is going to be a talk radio style discussion between a group of people who have opinions on a topic that relates to the RSE community. And what the discussion will do is it's almost like a talk radio show or a podcast. It's not an interactive thing. It's something where it's not interactive. It's something where you're able to kind of listen to these group of people talking about things. And it's going to, I think, be a very interesting discussion. And it has a very different way of submitting things. And you may have seen already the topics for discussion call has already closed, but we'll come through how you submit things and how you go to one of the next parts. So those are the 6 types of session we have available for SeptembRSE, the 6 things you can submit. The deadline for most of these submissions is next Friday. So you have 1 week left to submit. And what we'll do now is we're going to basically take you through how you could make a submission. So going on to the talks part, I'm going to hand over to Andrew, who's going to talk about how you can submit a talk.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So the website is there at the bottom for the talks call, and you'll find everything that's on this slide in that at that site. So this is an example that's shown there. It's the standard way of submitting something to the conference, that you tell us a bit about what you're going to do, a bit about who you think it will be of interest to, make sure that you've considered accessibility and the requirements for technology, that sort of thing. It's likely that you'll be grouped with somebody else who's doing a talk similar to yours. So we will have sessions of 2 or 3 talks at any one time. And yeah, that's basically more or less it, I think. I think Chris really detailed what the talk was earlier in this recording. So shall we move on to the next one?
Yep, thank you very much, Andrew. And just to say, what we have on the screen here is everything you would actually need to submit for a submission. So it's a very small amount of text you would have to do. And so we have these example submissions for all of the types of submission. And it's literally just a Google form that we've connected to, where you fill in each of these boxes, as Andrew has described. Okay, we have similar things for posters. So with the poster submissions, it's pretty much the same thing. The link of the call is at the bottom. You just need to supply a title for your poster, abstract as you would normally do. And then, as you see here, just tell us who the audience is, so we can make sure that the conference will cater to a broad audience, but also the specialized audiences as well. And then the accessibility, we really do want to make sure that everything we present is accessible to everybody. And then, because SeptembRSE is something which we want to sort of really encourage the community to attend, presenters, we hope you will help us to promote it. So some ideas of how you promote it. For the technological requirements, obviously, if you want to do things like live demos, or you want something else than just a PDF poster, please just let us know. So we're really open to people coming up with ideas for what you'd like to have, and to make it interesting, and to really embrace the fact that things can be online. So please write down as technological requirements anything you might need us to help you with. And as I said, we have Gather Town. Get in touch with us now or through the next week as well. Okay, so that's posters. Walkthroughs, again, very, very similar to talks. So again, we have the link at the bottom. The way you submit a walkthrough is the same pretty much as you'd submit a talk, but you can see it's just slightly different because you are sort of presenting a walkthrough itself. And in the accessibility part, we are kind of keen that you will say how you'll be able to sort of set things up, how you'll be able to like distribute things to the attendees after the workshop. Okay, workshops. Workshops are a little bit more complicated. So I realize now I've actually copied the wrong thing onto this page. The workshop examples, they are basically can be anything from 60 minutes to like, you know, 1 day. So you specify the duration and the duration part. You need your abstract as you would before, who's the audience, etc. you wanted to work with. But then also you get to specify the maximum number of people. So for example, here in this example, they're saying we can only have 20 people on our server. So that's the maximum we can actually take in. We have on the technological requirements, so unlike previous conferences, so in previous conferences, we set things up where we would provide the workshop platforms if you wanted to, because obviously everybody was on site. And so we had to set up Wi-Fi and various other bits and pieces. This time, because everything is online, we don't have that capability. So for workshops, we're asking workshop presenters to supply everything that is needed. So if you're running a cloud server, you will need to set that cloud server up. We will not have a sponsor who will be providing a cloud service this time. So again, with workshops, it's everything you need, you have to basically set up for it. And then just make sure you will need to provide us with details about how people will connect to it. And hopefully, you know, at least sort of 3 days before, you provide us that provide us with the info so we can then send it to the people who've registered, and we can just make sure there's not going to be any issues. Okay, now moving on to panels, and I've got Kristen to talk about this section.
Hi guys, so hello again, my name is Kristen. I am volunteering for panels and discussions. Starting off with the panels, this is the way that they differ from the discussion is that this is more of a facilitated Q&A session where you guys can ask questions, or whoever is attending can ask questions from you. Right now with panels, we are mostly accepting like the topics and the person who's willing to chair or potentially be a scribe or anything like that on them. On the site itself, itself, you will notice that you will have to have different people involved in the panel in order to make it successful. But again, this is early days. Right now, any type of panel is really being on offer. What I've seen in the past with RSE conferences has been really in-depth discussions on diversity, things like challenges on the types of technology that should be used or not used, and ways that people can move forward. So yeah, if you're not sure about panels versus discussions, by all means, please feel free to talk to me. There's discussion. Thank you. So yes, the discussion is new. This was brought forward by Chris, and he thought of he has actually experienced this before, and I actually look forward to being part of these as well. It's like a talk radio style. It's a bit more like a podcast, so less Q&A, less people, having to line up, more of a free-flowing discussion that happens over a recorded session. And what's kind of nice about this is that, unlike the panels where you kind of need more of the knowledge experts, the discussions are a bit of an opportunity to bring in people who might be kind of left of the field or outside the field, who have an insight that they can bring into the mix for the RSE community. For example, I've worked for an integrator, so we actually integrate technology together. And the reason we relate so well to the RSE community is we often come up with the same types of challenges that you guys do with dealing with your researchers, but more at a customer level and building a solution that works for them. So even though I'm kind of an outsider in the community, I can also be part of discussions and talk about experience that's related to the field. So that's kind of a way that discussions are a little bit different. And again, right now with discussions, we are actually voting on topics. So the topics have been submitted, and I want to thank everyone. I know some people on the call here stepped up and put forward topics. So thank you guys so much. Please go and vote. Right now, it's basically your favorite 5. It doesn't have to be a top 5. There's no ranking. And those discussions will then progress on, and we'll start doing a call for participants on that follows. I think that's it.
Cool. Thank you very much, Kristen. And as Christian says, with the discussions, what's slightly different with them compared to the other submissions is that we're creating the topics, and then we will then issue a call for people who'd like to be part of the discussion on that topic as kind of a separate thing. So again, voting doesn't commit you to anything, just in the same way as proposing a discussion topic didn't commit you to anything. One thing I should add with the panels is, again, at the submission time for the panels, it's just you're basically suggesting the panel topic and you're volunteering to chair the panel. We will help you find panelists for your panel if it's accepted. So don't worry about having to find everybody that has to attend the panel now. We'll help you to find a collection of panelists that you'll be happy with that would represent that entire topic and could answer some good questions. Okay, so making a submission, we do welcome submissions from everybody. We really do mean everybody. Anyone who has any interest in research software engineering or would like to contribute to the conference, any career stage, whether you're employed in industry, academia, or even between jobs at the moment. I think the conference will be a good opportunity to network and to find potential new employers and things as well. Every single submission will be reviewed anonymously. So it's a completely anonymous process. So reviewers won't know who you are. Even the people then sort of processing the reviews won't know who you are. We're only sort of like removing the anonymity once the program has been set. So, completely anonymous. The way you'd fill it in is there is a Google form attached to every single call page where you put in your email address, and that email address is basically the link through to what's called a presenter details and diversity form, which connects your data. When the form is submitted, what we do is basically remove your email address from the form. We then give you a kind of an ID number, and it's that ID number that's then seen through the rest of the process. And we only then reconnect your presenter details and diversity information right at the end of the process once everything has been refereed. The reason we ask for presenter details and diversity, you don't have to answer many of the questions in there. I think pretty much all of them are optional, but it will give us an idea to make sure that we're building a diverse conference and everything is we are able to capture the full diversity of the community, and the program we deliver is a fully diverse program. So if you can fill in those things, that would really help us. But again, it has no impact at all on the submissions and who gets accepted. Okay, in terms of license and availability, this is going to be an open conference. So every single session will be recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube. This means that all session materials must be shareable and be able to be made publicly available. So we will not be having sessions which are private, where you don't want the rest of the world to see what you're doing. This is a completely open conference. We are going to schedule your session around your availability. It's a month-long conference. So, we're not going to say you must be available on September the 15th. What we've done at this stage is when you submit, you'll notice there is a checkboxes which will enable to say which weeks you could present in. So we're doing this very broadly at the moment. So maybe you're on holiday in weeks 1 and 2, so you can only present in weeks 3 and 4. It's kind of that level of detail. When we then come to accepting the submissions, post-acceptance, we'll then get in contact with you to then say, what is your availability within this week? So we'll say, we'd ideally like you to present in week 3, because you said you're available in week 3. What is your availability in week 3? Could you do a Monday or a Tuesday or a Thursday or whatever? And then through that sort of more detailed availability information, we'll be able to then sort of build a program. And we'll be doing that through sort of July, early August. Now, that's brought to the end of the sort of talk session. As I said, this is the only part that was recorded. So for those of you that have watching this on YouTube, your options for asking questions are to send either an email to conference email address or to get into contact with us on Slack. So maybe in the SeptembRSE channel or in the general channel, and ask for some help or ask some questions, and conference committee members will get back to you. Otherwise, for people who are live, I'm now going to stop the recording and I'll give you the options how you can talk to us now for the rest of this session. So how do I do stop? Stop recording. There we are.